corporate law firms see a growing opportunity too, among them powerhouse firms like King & Spalding, whose clients include more than half the companies of the Fortune 500.
We have offices all over the United States and all over the world.
Abdi Shayesteh, one of the firm's 800 lawyers, says Islamic financing is a growing part of the law firm's business.
Our section is a global practice, Middle East and Islamic finance group. We have over 30 attorneys that are specifically dedicated to working in this group, whether it's transactions from banks coming into the United States or transactions from investors and companies going into the Middle East.
In a workshop conducted for members of the New York Bar Association, Shayesteh and firm partner Andrew Metcalf outlined basic principles of Sharia-compliant investing, besides the prohibition on interest.
So, for example, Islamic investors are not allowed to invest in alcohol, the production of munitions, casinos, pornography. These are off limits.
As are pork products. Shayesteh mainly represents financial institutions and wealthy individuals based in the Persian Gulf. He estimates that Sharia-compliant financing, ownership, and investments in the United States total at least $160 billion. To put that into perspective, that's nearly 3 times more than Microsoft's total revenue last year.
The first series of U.S. regulatory approvals actually took place starting from 1985 to about the mid-90s.
Before joining King & Spalding, Shayesteh, an Iranian-American and a non-observant Muslim, was a regulatory specialist at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York.
Has the Fed essentially giving its blessing and the federal government giving its blessing to the Islamic banking in the United States?
Well, this idea of the government giving its blessing to Islamic products is a misconception. The government does not give its blessing.
Or a green light.
No such thing as green light. If there are market participants that show that there is enough demand for these products and services, and they apply to the Federal Reserve to show that not only is there demand, but their products are within the current existing bank regulatory regime, then if there are no safety and soundness issues and they do comply with the regulatory regime, the government will approve the offering of these products.
I'd call that a green light.
Well, once it is approved, yes, it is a green light.
The infusion of billions of dollars into the client investor in the U.S. Abdi Shayesteh is one of their lawyers here.
We set up the joint venture arrangements and we represent the joint venture in their financial transactions, in their corporate acquisitions and asset acquisitions. We also represent them globally.
The scope of our Capita's U.S. assets is wide. Besides Caribou Coffee, our Capita's U.S. corporate investments include the Sunrise Retirement Home chain, Pods, a moving and storage company, and the makers of a quintessentially American product, Southland Log Homes, the largest log home company in the U.S. Until recently, it also owned Church's Chicken. In addition, our Capita owns firms that make everything from planes to oil drill bits. The company has faced some controversy and economic difficulty. Last year, it lost $90 million. And this year, one of its companies, the small of children's dental clinics, settled Medicaid fraud allegations made by the U.S. Justice Department. But Sharia-compliant financing in general is also facing attacks by critics who believe it is a Trojan horse being wheeled into America's capital markets.
And what's wrong with it is the first word, which is, of course, Sharia. And what's wrong with Sharia is that it is a totalitarian program, supremacist in character, whose purpose is to force the domination of the entire world to its mandate under a global caliphate.
Frank Gaffney is president of the Center for Security Policy in Washington, a conservative think tank.
It is, as a result, a seditious ideology bent on the destruction of the United States government and Constitution. I believe America should remain Sharia-free. If people here wish to live under Sharia law, there are places they can go.
The Devon Bank in Chicago, which offers a product that is, as you know, Sharia-compliant mortgages. Those should be outlawed?
I would say so, yes.
Under what law?
Under the law that the United States of America has a constitution that is the supreme law of the land. Any effort to insinuate some other legal system or code into this country is not consistent with the law of the land.
Gaffney sees other signs of creeping Sharia. He has labeled President Obama America's first Muslim president and suggested that the U.S. Missile Defense Agency's new logo nefariously combines the Islamic crescent and star with the logo used by the Obama campaign. Those involved in Sharia-compliant financing, like Devon Bank's David Lowndes, say Islamic principles do not supersede U.S. law.
Well, the fact is that anybody who's moving money around has to comply with the Office of Foreign Asset Control's guidelines. So, regardless of who the investor is, if I want to wire the money, I have to do an OFAC check. And Office of Foreign Asset Controls.
There are people out there that hate anything Islamic, and they relate anything Islamic to terrorist activities. You know, it's just the way they are, the way they think.
Is Sharia-compliant financing a Trojan horse?
A Trojan horse. It's a matter of supply and demand. There's supply of capital that wants to be invested or handled in a manner that adheres to a certain standard or philosophy, and then there's a demand. Companies need capital, and that's all this is. It's a business. It's a banking industry.
And bottom line, it's just banking.
It's just banking, yeah.
And that's exactly how corporate lawyers at the seminar that Shayesteh addressed treated the subject. Afterwards, influential attorneys spoke enthusiastically about the business potential.
Well, I think the Islamic world is a great reservoir of wealth, especially as a result of the natural resources, the oil and so forth. And people in the Middle Eastern countries especially are looking for ways of investing their money. And that is of great interest to people who are looking for resources to invest in, to build new businesses and create new jobs and so forth.
After the attacks of 9/11, Islamic financiers withdrew much of their U.S. and Western investments, afraid they'd be stigmatized.
Over the years, there was this mass buildup of liquidity, mass buildup of capital. All of a sudden, companies across the globe, including the United States, realized there's this untapped opportunity to attract the capital to come back into their borders.
So it's coming back?
It's coming back, exactly.
Coming back because depressed prices in the United States make for good bargains for foreign investors, Islamic or not.